On today's Soul Sanctuary podcast, I welcome my friend Jacinthe Monast. Jacinthe and I have been friends for only a short time, but we are deeply connected, and I think you're going to love her too. Jacinthe is a holistic mindset coach, and her sole purpose is to reconnect everyone to their light, find their joy again, and enjoy their lives. We talk about an array of topics today. We speak all about our intuition, being the light, God, universe, source. We even talk about grief and becoming your true self. I hope you enjoy today's episode. I also would like to take the time to dedicate this episode to my friend, Chris Bowen. Oh, thank you, Jacinthe. Again, I feel very, very honored that you said yes to be here. I'm really excited for this interaction together. As we were just discussing before I press record, there's a lot of healing when you group with like-minded people who understand you and who you connect on so many levels with. Like, we've never actually physically met in person, but there's a deep connection already spiritually and energetically for us. And I'm really happy to have you today in this space and in this moment. I want to start, as I'm going to start asking everyone a particular question, because this podcast is called the Soul Sanctuary Podcast. So I am curious, what brings your soul to that sanctuary feeling? What makes you feel peace? What makes you feel connected to that part of yourself that so many of us choose to ignore that it even exists?
That is a very good question, and I'm glad you're asking it to everyone, including myself. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. It's an honor, and I feel very humble and very grateful that you invited me to this. And yes, so for me, going into this soul sanctuary is to come back to my true self. It's very important to come back to being authentic. And even if it goes against the grain, and that's something that I followed a lot throughout my life, and it had created some frictions at times, because when you're authentic, it may not be going in the same direction as the masses. And that's something that you have to be okay with. And it has been a tumultuous journey at times to stay true. And you get off course sometimes, but yes, it's definitely like, just come back and just go within, and into my own heart, and know that I do have something to share with the world that is for the greatest good. And just to believe that the universe has my back, that life loves me. And as long as I know that I can love myself for who I am, my whole person, then this is what it's all about. So it's just to remembering that we are love and light, and that's a really big part, because we're all making mistakes anyhow. This is part of the human experience, and to just forgive ourselves, give ourselves some grace, and just know that, you know what, you can learn the lessons, and if you don't learn it, then the lessons will come back.
And again.
And just to just get with the flow, like just like what you said, right? Like, how do you go back into the flow? So this is a big thing for me.
Yeah, it's interesting to have people in your life that might not be fully centered with their true self. I call it your Satnam. In Kundalini yoga, we call it a Satnam. It's your true identity, your true self. And so that really resonated with me the first time I heard it ever. And I think that was like the pivotal point for myself to go in the trajectory of that person. I was like, gosh, I don't even know who she is anymore. You get so off the path in life as life progresses and experiences happen and people tell you certain things that you become so far removed from that true self.
Mhm.
That for me, and I'm certain it was probably the same for you, especially after having a child, that you look in the mirror at one point and you look at yourself and you're like, I don't even recognize her anymore. I don't know what she wants. I don't know who she is. And I think that I always like equate this line for me from, it was like before Kundalini and then the Melissa after Kundalini, who is just over time developed into this other person almost. And but staying as that other person and not slipping back into old Melissa is a unique contrast struggle. I don't like the word struggle, but there's moments, right? That you're like, oh, I'm not acting as the person I am now. I feel like I'm pulling from old experiences that are um, drawing me to things. So I love that has been your pull, is to always be guided by that light within you. We talked about that this morning in study group, that like this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, right? That
Exactly.
inner person.
Yeah.
And I know that you also feel like you come into this world as that naturally. Just the moment you enter this place in this space, you are that highest version of yourself. And over time, life kind of plucks it away.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you will, whatever it is that you believe is what is going to be true. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so, but yes, like, I mean, if you think about a little baby, it doesn't have, and it doesn't make any mistake. It's just perfect. And even people say, like, oh, congratulations, he's perfect or she's perfect, because it's the truth. And really, we truly are still perfect in all our imperfection that we gathered along the way. And I want to mention as well, as like, even though I always followed my intuition in some way, I was letting outside circumstance still affecting me. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, as you said, yeah, having a child definitely brought a different version of myself that it did not know existed. And really, like, the warrior in me reignited into knowing it's like, now I have this little person, this new soul that came into this earth, and I want for her to be able to experience the way she would like to experience life, and
Yeah.
not having my paradigm to get in the way. So it was a lot of work on myself that I had to do, because at some point I was like, maybe I'm not meant to be her mom, because I was just I had so many paradigm that was coming at me of
Mm-hmm.
like my childhood,
Yeah.
that I was like, I don't know if I want this for my daughter. I don't know if I will be a good mom enough, and I'm not going to be this or that, and everything in between. And it came really close. I was thinking, I was like, you know what? She may just be better if I'm not around.
Oh,
I
wow.
actually did. I did actually went that way. And I was just like, you know what? And then I actually had the very fortunate that I had some support from my husband, and then just be like, okay, and I got some counseling, and I got some, and all throughout my life I did, but it's not until I really tapped into the spiritual side and the self-development that I really got the really good grasp into, like, you know what, yes, the universe does have my back, and yes, I can get myself better, and yes, I can tap into having a different mindset
Yeah.
around everything, and not letting outside circumstances affect me. and knowing that there's something bigger than me that I need to do. And then my journey will be able to help somebody else.
Yes. Oh, I'm just saying that's huge. That's a huge awareness and aha for anyone listening. Like motherhood tends to do that to a lot of us. It tends to kind of flip us upside down and second guess ourselves as women, as moms, as all the things, because I also even now sometimes experience moments where I'm like, I don't know if I'm the one that should be teaching him certain things like money, let's say, or even relationships sometimes, because there's so many paradigms around those two fields for myself that have I cleared old thought patterns, which is a paradigm, old thought patterns about X, Y, and Z in order to give him any sort of advice or guidance in that zone. Like it's not my realm of expertise to give him financial advice or yeah, like I said, even relationship advice. And it's interesting to be where I'm at now in my life and even look back at how I was as a mother the first 10 years of his life. Be like, darn, I wish I could go back and implement some of the things that I know now for him, because I think it would have assisted him in very like self-confidence stuff, right? And but there is that doubt. And I'm so glad that despite that doubt for you and that moment where you felt like you needed to kind of leave, I'm glad that you didn't. I'm glad that you reached for something higher than yourself. We call it, God, universe, source, energy, spirit, angel guides. Like there's so many names for it, but it is all the same thing. It's all the same feeling. It's a higher version of who we are that we get to tap into. It's the creator that brought us here into the physical that we forget that we can zone in on again and be part of again and live from that again. And I think that finding that really does allow people to kind of reconnect. That's why there's so many people that are like, I had my awakening when I found God or when I found Jesus or when I found religion. For me personally, it's not even a religion. It's just a connection per se.
Yes, I throughout my childhood, like I was born Catholic, being French Canadian, it's very prominent in French Canadian that we are raised Catholic. But even in my childhood, I was seeking for different beliefs in the different religions and all that. And it's just when I actually found into the spirituality that it was more universal and all encompassed within the man-made religions, really.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever it is that you're following, if it's what it resonates with you, then by all means, right? And within that spirituality is and I just came to realize is that a lot of the times we think that when we want to end things and you go right into the shadow work, and it's really dark and you think that you have to end the actual body, but sometimes it's not the actual body that needs to have the death. It's actually the death of the old self, the old I am, the person that you used to be that is not anymore. And then just to be reborn. So to rebirth yourself so that you can thrive again. And we all have a mission in life. We signed that contract at the very beginning. This is the life that we want to experience so that we can learn certain lessons on earth. And all that we can do is to keep working with going deeper onto our awareness and learning more about ourselves so we can better ourselves. Because with all different interactions that we have, we're just going to be teaching others how to treat us. And also, we're just going to be interacting with our own current level of awareness. So, and everything is all in divine timing. So I don't blame my parents for whatever that has gone. Like, they only did the best they could
Yes.
with what their own level of awareness, with the inability to heal themselves. I'm so grateful to actually have the tools to be able to have that. So hopefully I don't pass down too many paradigm onto my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure she'll catch on some of the stuff, because that's what we do. But it will be different. So that's something definitely that is to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a few questions that are coming up as you're talking. I am curious. We talk a lot about intuition, and some people are probably like going to listen to this and be like, what are you talking about? So for intuition, if I said to you, describe what is intuition, what would be the words you would use, or how would you describe that? Even because I think for everyone it might be a little different, but what is it for you?
So for me, intuition is when I don't betray myself, and I get that little voice in my head, or that gut feeling,
Yeah.
and it tells me, it's like, this is the path to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, if I don't listen to it, I was like, oh, and then something happens, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So you can test on it, but yeah, the intuition comes in completely different ways, right? And can mean something different for everybody. But I think a lot of the times people, they resonate with like, oh, I've got that gut feeling, like that's like, oh, something's going on. Or, like sometimes you may just have this feeling that, okay, I shouldn't be going in that route when you go somewhere. It's like, or you get stopped by a train, and then you realize that, if you would have been going forward, you would have been involved into that accident that has happened, right? And so when you are being held back, there's always a reason. I'm getting shivers here. There's always a reason why you're being held back, and being and just be grateful. And you can always listen to a podcast. You can always listen to Melissa's podcast there while you're waiting at the train there.
Yeah. That's yeah, I love that you said that it's always guiding you. The other thing that I got as you said that was it doesn't always make you feel comfortable.
No.
I've got some intuitive hits happening this week in the wake of a tremendous loss in my life, and against some, like, yeah, it's just a lot of things that are making me super uncomfortable, that I don't necessarily want to put myself in a situation, but there's this strong pull to like do it anyway. And so it doesn't always make you feel like peaceful and healing and good, and it challenges you. And the reason why it makes you feel uncomfortable is because there's this gap in your life, and it's I like to say it's like your highest version of yourself, your Satnam, and it has made the decision, and it knows like it knows you're supposed to do this. It's part of that contract that you've signed. But you and all your beautiful human awareness is creating a gap and keeping you in your comfort zone, or keeping you small, or keeping you safe. And so there's this uncomfort in listening to it. And whenever that creeps up for me, I always know that I have to follow the uncomfort. I don't always do it yet though. Like I try to rationalize, or come into what we call in our work the five senses, right? Like we listen to our five senses versus really being guided by those higher faculties within you to make decisions. Because on the other side of that gap feels scary, you're ignorant to what might happen, all the things, and it's making you really uncomfortable. So you make the choice to stay comfortable and small.
Yeah. And I love what you said there about like with feeling comfortable, but also feeling stuck at the same time, right?
Mm.
It's like, and your higher self is telling you a message, because that's the thing, right? Our higher self is always, our soul is always seeking expression, but it's our paradigm or our ego that is actually keeping us to where we are, right? It's like, oh, no, we don't do this. This is not what we do, right? And so that creates that feeling of being stuck, or that creates, for myself, it was creating anxiety,
Yes.
a lot of anxiety. So that's usually, now I know that when I have this feeling of anxiousness that's coming through, I know that I have to make a decision.
Yes.
I need to make a decision, and it has to be definite, because that will change the course. And that's what my intuition tells me. And before, I did not understand, I couldn't understand what was that all about. And I was just so stuck into that paradigm of mine. Is like, even though I was listening to my intuition, I was not going fully, until the universe said, you know what, like, enough of this, and I'm going to throw you off the cliff, because I know you can fly.
Oh, so much cliff jumping lately. I know, I feel you. I the anxiety, well, all of our emotions, anxiety, fear, whatever you feel in your body, worry, stress, depression, all
Anger.
of it, every single one of those emotions, happy, sad, joy, are a guiding light to let you know you're in the right direction,
Exactly.
and a guiding light to let you know that you're off the path. So when you're feeling that discomfort in that gap, that is a sure sign that you're off the path, that you're not listening, that you need to move forward and follow in that discomfort. But we suppress so much, and we've suppressed listening to our inner guidance system, to our inner nav, GPS, that now we have a whole array of illnesses, a whole array of, mental illnesses that have just taken over so many of our bodies, because we forget how to listen to our spirit. We forget how to listen to this part of ourselves that we can't even see. So because we can't see it, it doesn't exist. We're just a body. That there's so many people out there that are like, I'm a body, and that has a spirit. Well, actually, truthfully, you started as this little blinking light. When that sperm and egg came together, I remember on the sonogram when I was pregnant with my son, my mom nicknamed him Tink. Well, she nicknamed him Tinkerbell, and then we shortened it to Tink because we didn't know if he was going to be a boy or a girl. So Tink is what we called him as he grew inside me, because he started as this little blinking light on that sonogram. That's what we saw the first time we got to see him. And many of us don't get early sonograms like that. Because I was a high risk pregnancy, I was like 9 weeks when I had my first sonogram with him. And that's what you look like. You're a little blinking light. You are a soul. Before you develop limbs, before you grow a heart, before your brain even starts, you're this light.
I love that.
If you can remember that you are the light, you live differently from that state than this human meat stick.
Exactly. I like to call it soul encapsulated egos.
Yeah.
And really, all ego, you can make it as an acronym, which is like Earth Guide only, right? So that's where it comes all your five senses. Yeah. It's beautifully written by Dr. Wayne Dyer. I just love his teachings. But yeah, Earth Guide only. Or you can also say it as like edging God out. So when your ego is taking over, it's like edging God out. So it's just a couple little acronyms that you can just put in your little toolbox, and just like when it starts peaking itself, just time to go within and find that little light of yours again, so that you remember who you are, because that's what it is. We are love and light.
Yeah.
That's what we are. And we just need to remember. And I hope it's okay with you there, Melissa, but I just wanted to write, because we're talking about our souls and where we come from. Just a couple of days ago, I actually wrote an ode to my inner child. And I just think it would be appropriate to just share with all of you, because sometimes we just forget where we come from, and it can, doing the shadow work, it can bring a lot of things up, but it's important to do it. So I will just share that with you.
Yes, please do.
So it's story time. In the midst of darkness, I spoke to my own shadow. I asked, what was the meaning of life? All I received was silence. In that silence, I found the pain and the discomfort. I looked at it with inquisitive eyes, but as my eyes were getting adjusted to the dark, I saw a child crying and scared. I asked the child, "Are you okay?" The child shook its head, which was buried in its chest, his body convulsing in fear, rocking back and forth. I proceeded to reach out. Was I dreaming, or was it reality? The child pushed itself back and shouted profanity at me. I asked to see the child's face, and to my own discovery, it was my own face staring back at me, just barely 5 years old. I said to her, "I want to help you. You have to let me in. I know it's hard to trust someone you have never met before. I know you have been hurt and you have pushed a lot of people out of your life because it was easier and less painful to do so. It's also very lonely. I want you to know that you are safe and you are loved, and I will never allow anyone to hurt you again. You have an army of angels surrounding you, and all you need to do is grab my hand, and I will have you experience some of the many miracles that life has to offer. You just need to believe." So my inner child grabbed my hand and looked at me with a smile and said, "I remember you. Thank you for coming back and taking me along this journey of life. Hold me in your arms and never let go. You and I are one. And we are one with the universe and nature. Together, we can be magnets for miracles." This was an ode to my inner child. And I dedicate it to my daughter because she is my biggest teacher. She's my sunshine. And I hope that she always know that how much I love her, because she's my sunshine every day.
Oh, I just think that is beautiful. I think that that's going to resonate with so many listeners, because we forget who we are. We forget. We don't always listen to that inner guidance system that we have. We follow that ego, and it draws us away from who we are as a person, our Satnam.
Yeah.
And I shared with you before we started talking here that that blurb that you had shared with us yesterday had me in tears. It doesn't matter how much work I do, I'm always going to be doing the work to continue to grow and find her and find new parts of her. And at one point in my life, especially after having my son, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and not recognizing who I was. And I know that there's so many people out there that still experience that. And
Yes.
I feel so very fortunate that I have tools now, and I have been in the work for nearly 2 years to tap into tools when I feel like I'm getting off my path from who she is. But I know there's people that study with us every day that are much older than you and I are and are only just learning this stuff. And there's millions of people out there that don't have it at all.
Yeah. And the beauty of this work is like it has nothing to do into being better than somebody else. It's actually to be better than our own selves, because
Yes.
that's all we can do. We can only work on ourselves. And I love that every time that we study together, there's always synchronicity in the theme that's happening. And all it is that even though we're all going through that same theme, it's just the level of how deep you go to better understanding and remembering your true self.
Mm-hmm.
And when things coming from the outside, like how you're going to respond to it instead of like reacting to it. And because all of us have some sort of invisible pain. Sometimes the pain you can see it, right? It's physical, you can see it. But a lot of the times it's that invisible pain that you cannot see. You can still have this mask on and showing to the world that all is well, but within you could be struggling. And that was me for a very, very long time. Um, until I couldn't take it anymore, until I actually was like, okay, you know what? You're at the bottom. You're at the bottom. So now it's time to go up. If you reach the bottom, this is a good sign. It's a good sign because you have no choice but to go back up and climb back up now. It takes work. You may climb, like descend a little bit, climb back up, slide a little bit more, but the work is not over. The only time it's over is when you pass to the other realm.
And even
And
then, I feel like knowing what I know now about your soul and soul contracts, which we should discuss a little bit about that, because I'm sure people are going to be like, what are they talking about? I feel like that's all kind of part of the journey. Like we all of us leave this world. None of us stay here forever. All of us pass in some form, some way. It's part of life. But we all go back to source. And that is a different level of beauty that we can't even comprehend. We can't even put words to it. It's just so loving. And I think that there's this call for some of us to get back there. And I think that in hindsight, when our soul is feeling like it's done with this world, in whatever capacity that is, we find a way to kind of get back there. Whether we've called in some illness or we decide for ourselves that we need to go. Yeah, I think that is how it happens. I think that we get to return to the beauty.
yeah, and I just want to acknowledge what you're going through right now there, Melissa, because the love that you have for that special person that you had in your life that had made a decision to go to the other realm, that person is still there with you. And I just feel it's important to bring it up. I know it's bringing up a lot of emotions there for you, and it's very important just to acknowledge as like, yes, we do have a soul purpose and we do have a soul contract, and when it is time to go, yes, we do leave a lot of our loved ones behind, but we just need to realize that we can still ask for them to surround us and to guide us. So you have gained another guide in your life, that you can have access to at any time, more so that you used to
Yeah, that's true.
into this life. So I mean, how beautiful is that? And to have this opportunity to still have that love in your life if you're willing to tap into it. So I want to give you a really big hug right now. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's interesting being where I am now in my life and knowing the things I know now, and redeveloping the way I grieve is what is happening. There's a lot more peace in grief for me. It really shone last year when I lost my father. I got to put a lot of the new tools that I've learned in terms of feeling peaceful in my life, because that's kind of the encompassing the theme that I want to have for my life. Getting to choose how I wanted to extract it and how I wanted to embrace it has been really important as well. And I know that this is another beautiful lesson that has come my way this week, losing a very dear friend.
And I want to honor this. And I just want to say, I know you say it was a loss, but nothing can never be lost.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
He just transition into a different type of energy that we cannot access into this physical world. And grief, really, it's important to go through that process. And really, grief is an ability to show our love to that person in the physical world.
Right? It is. I love that you said that, because grief is just that. It's an extension of a physical love that you had for someone or something or a moment in your time. Like, grief is not just the loss of a human. Grief can be the loss of yourself, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a job, right? Which also kind of relates to the loss of self. Grief can show up in so many different forms.
And just to remember that it's not a loss, and it's actually just an ending. It's just an ending, and there's a rebirth.
Yeah, you're right. And I know I keep saying that last word, but really, like you said, energy. Yeah, it's a paradigm. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. That kept me going when my dad transitioned. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply changes forms. And we are that. We are energy. And so when we leave this physical plane, we don't leave in full. We just transition to something else. And that's just going back to the soul. And although you may not be able to hear, see, taste, touch that person anymore, taste that person, you know what I mean? 5 senses.
Yeah.
That person anymore, they can still do the same. They can still tap in for you. They can still be there. And something that I've really practiced in the last year and a bit, when my dad left this world and went where you go to the other side, or whatever we wish to call it. I meditate a lot. I was anyway, but now I really listen for him. And I've gotten so good at it that I can hear him reply. And I've gotten so good at it that we can have conversations.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, it really is served too when I do Reiki on people. I can tap in for them as well, tap into their guides and let them know and give messages. So that's been a huge healing. And I believe deep down in my soul that even though this loss is really fresh, no more than I literally found out 48 hours ago to the minute as I look at the clock. I know that that's going to happen for this relationship too. And I've learned in grief that the relationship doesn't end. It just changes forms.
Yes, I love that, Melissa. And for anyone that's out there, because Melissa and I we're very much obviously tapped into our own spirituality in that sense, and we have a special relationship with the spiritual world. For anyone that is like, well, this is way out there for me, and how am I supposed to know if I know, like, something that you can do is ask for a sign.
Yes.
Ask for a sign. So just think of whatever it is that's coming up first thing in your head, and then you ask, okay, within the next 24 hours, if I see this, then you can ask the questions like, are you okay? Or and then if I see that sign, then you will know. So I just think it's beautiful that you just saw the time is like just to the minute. You got the news 2 days ago, because that's a sign right there, right? That he's right there with you. So that is just so beautiful. So if anybody that is like looking for a sign, just ask
Mm,
for the sign, and then ask to be very clear on the sign that you want to receive. And if you
yes.
don't get a sign, that's a sign as well.
Yes. I was just going to say that. I do this method a lot for, well, I used to do it a lot when my friend passed away. My friend Mike passed away it'll be 21 years in October. He was 5 days shy of his 19th birthday. Was really looking forward to it, and it was just a fluke accident. And he left the world, and that was like a pivotal moment in my life. I was 18. I adored him. It shaped me for a lot of time, and it took a very long time to get over it. But I used to ask him for signs all the time, and I would get really specific about songs just to like challenge him. And he'd
I
give
love
them
that.
to me. He would give them to me. And sometimes the time frame, I love that you give a time frame, but sometimes keeping that time frame open too is
Yeah.
good, because it wasn't always like the next minute or the next hour. It'd be like 3 days from then or what
Mm.
have you. But that's still the sign. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that it wasn't right then.
Yeah.
Keep
And you have to be
open
open to
to
see the
it.
sign.
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that if you're not open to the sign, if you don't have an open heart and ready to even hear it, then it won't come yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Just means you need to do some work for yourself to tap into that spiritual side of you. And the best way to do that is to sit quietly in a meditation, to just release all the to-do list and the discomfort and the ego and all things, and just sit. Meditating is not going to happen right away. Your brain's going to kick in and out all the time. There's times where I'm fully tapped in, tuned in, turned on into spirit, and I'm having visions. But my brain is still like, oh, we have to leave soon. This, that, and the other thing. So it's this duality of my amazing humanness and my amazing spirit working together. And I've just learned to embrace it rather than criticize it.
Yeah, you're like in the two different world. You're into the two different dimension. And
Yep.
then yeah, it's great to actually be able to travel through it all, because I find the same too. And another thing that I love is like sometimes it actually does work as well with my clients, is like performing Reiki on them. It can help into, but again, you have to be open to it, and then open to it, but then that can also help to open yourself up into that realm and getting some messages as well that way.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about soul contracts, because we've mentioned it, we've quoted that word several times, and I know people are like, what? So do you want to just dive into that and explain the soul contract a little bit?
Yes, most definitely. So soul contract. So before you actually arrive onto this earth plane, you sign a contract of what you would like to experience, um, who your parents is going to be, what you're going to look like, different traits of your personality, um, all the lessons that you would love to learn throughout your lifetime. And then you signed a contract, and then you sign as well that you're not going to remember that contract.
I think I always relate it to that scene in The Little Mermaid when she gives her voice over to Ursula and she signs her contract, but then
Yes.
she has to trade something, and that's her voice, right? Like, we sign our contract, not maybe as traumatic as that scene,
Yep.
knowing that we have to trade something. And the
Exactly.
trade-off is that we don't remember. The
Yeah.
trade-off is come in with a new.
Exactly. And the key is to actually remember,
That's what we're
piece it
doing.
back together, remembering where we come from, and then remembering that we actually are a soul, just having this beautiful human experience, that we
Mm.
can experience all the different emotions and feelings that's part of the spectrum,
Yeah.
so that we can experience it all. So that's the beauty of being human, is that you can experience it all. But it's just to remember just not to just not to dwell on it, just
Yeah.
let it go through it, right? Like emotions is energy in motion, so you have to just let it pass through you, and just say this too shall pass. And I love myself the way I am, because I am that I am. And another thing I want to bring that up as well is that sometimes we get so caught up into being stuck, and with each new breath, it's a new opportunity. It's just a new slate, because a breath is just, I believe it's yame. It's like which is the meaning of the breath, and it's actually God. And so with each breath, God is with you, and there's a new opportunity to rebirth yourself and start fresh with each new breath. So that's why it's important to take really nice deep breath,
Yes.
right? When things are just getting a little bit heavy,
Yeah.
because we get like God is with us all along. So.
Yeah. I know so many people that attend my yoga classes that are like, that's almost the highlight for them, is that I gave them a container and a space and time to be able to just breathe into their bodies, and the difference that alone makes for them is substantial. I was speaking a month ago, maybe it was 2 months ago, to a bunch of grandparents, and we were just discussing just different tactics and tools for self-care, and breath was one of them. And so I led them through a really beautiful breath meditation, like a pranayama, and everyone was like, I have never breathed like that. I don't remember the last time I took a breath from my diaphragm, or I expanded my chest and allowed my full capacity of my lungs to take the air in. And I just thought, like, how incredibly sad it is that we don't remember how to breathe. If you watch a baby breathe, they know how. Your belly is supposed to expand out, and your chest expand out on the inhale, and then everything gently contracts on the exhale. But so many of us are chest breathers now. So many of us breathe from right here that our diaphragms are forgetting how to work. And when you start to breathe deeply from those spaces, it instantly feels better to connect to the breath. And that's all you do in meditation. Like, I tell my clients to don't focus on the thoughts. The thoughts are going to come in. They're going to come in. It doesn't matter. Your brain has one job to do in life, one job only, and that is to think. So allow it to do its job, because when you constrict it and you try to stop it, it gets angry at you, and it makes the whole experience that much worse. So sit, let the thought come in. I picture it coming in on a cloud and just going away. Coming on the cloud and just going away. And sometimes the clouds are moving very quickly in my head on some days, and other times it's almost blue sky and I can sit quietly without thoughts. But if you can connect to that breath and bring that physical aspect into what you're trying to achieve mentally, then you've got it. Just listen. I count my breath, actually. I give my brain a job to do, and I count one, like count in Sesame Street. One inhale, one exhale, right? Like, it's just that I do that because I know my brain will get squirrely if it doesn't have a job.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it's so interesting that within the meditation, you have to do breathing, because I did like, for singing technique is the same thing too.
Yes.
To be able to control the amount of sound that you're going to be, you have to be able to take even longer breaths. So you do a lot of diaphragm exercises to stretch everything, so you can take even more deeper air and then control it, so that so much that actually comes out, so you don't waste it all as you're singing. So
yes, my instructor always reminds me gently and beautifully that your breath is the foundation for the sound that's going to come out. You need to have that support of the breath in order to get that phrase out, in order to get on the note, in order to have the clarity in the sound, it starts with breath. And that's really and truly a reflection of life. Your
Yeah.
life starts with breath. The first thing we do when we enter this world, before we even cry, is breathe. It starts there.
Yeah.
I just gave myself a huge aha moment as well.
Yeah. And then, yeah, from the beginning to the end, right? You'll have your
Yes, the
your
last
first
thing.
breath and your last breath. And then in between, all you need to do is believe and breathe.
Yes, yes, totally. Yeah. So, what advice would you give to people listening today? Because I think this particular session we've talked a lot about a lot of amazing things, but it's deep for people that are kind of coming in to soul sanctuary and realizing they are a soul in a body. Where would you navigate them to start? Really, I know that it's kind of like there's so much to learn, and every day I'm learning something new, I find.
Oh, yes.
Maybe even just maybe where you started, what would you give to one of your clients that's like, I want to know more, where do I start?
So the way for myself, the way I started, definitely I started to pick up a book. I started listening to podcasts that was resonating with me. I start to attending retreats and workshops and those kind of things, just to start dipping myself into it, and then start questioning a little bit more my own beliefs. And as soon as I was ready for myself, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna be serious about this, and I'm gonna hire myself a coach, because it's important to do the work on your own, but you
Yeah.
don't have to do it alone. And that's something that was really, really big for me. And that's what my first coach actually said that to me before I actually had signed up with my first program there, is that, yes, you don't have to do the work alone. There's this beautiful community that we are part of, and it's a beautiful way to have the safe space to be vulnerable. And because yeah, it's deep work. It's deep work, right? And to look at yourself squarely and to be like, yeah, okay, like I have my side of the street I have to clean up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It's important to be supported and know that, you know what, like you don't have to do the work alone. So but it's important to still do the work on your own, because nobody can do the work for you. It's your life. And yes, that's where I would do, like, and just keep working on yourself, and be gentle with yourself within the process, and have fun with it, right? You're remembering yourself, you're rediscovering your true self, and it's to be graceful and gentle, forgive yourself for the things that you did not know before that now you know, but when you know better, then you can do better. So yeah, just keep going for it. And every time you're going to come across some information, and if it's meant for you at that time, it's going to resonate.
Yes. I really enjoy that you said that, because there's things that I've learned on this journey that others are doing, and you can get so wrapped up again with your ego, get so wrapped up in, oh, we're similar, or we have the same similarities and tastes, and or we're coaching, whatever the pillar is. So I should probably like what they like, or I should probably do what they do, or I should probably talk the way they talk and experience the life the way they experience it. But did that land for you? Does that resonate for you? What they're saying? Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to share that? I spent so much of the last year, from the onset of developing my business and my website and starting my program and signing on coaching clients, and even before that, being a Beachbody coach, so much of that time was trying to figure it out and kind of piggybacking on other people. And then I had to take a step back and be like, wait, What is it about the fitness that I love? What is it about the spirituality that I love? What is it about the mindset that I want to focus on? And being able to grab from all those areas and really hone in on me. I'm not, the highest ranked Beachbody coach. Like, that's not how I think. And I'm not Gabby Bernstein, and I'm not Oprah Winfrey, and I'm not whoever your influential people are that you follow for whatever avenue you really enjoy. Who are you, and what do you love about those people or things that they are saying that you can take, make your own, create a message that will resonate for people that want to follow you.
Yeah,
And I
I love
think
that.
that you saying that was such an aha, that I have I've overcome that paradigm of not knowing who I am and allowed myself to be. I love working out. I love getting sweaty. I love talking about that stuff too. And I love teaching yoga. And I love performing Reiki and all these amazing, beautiful spiritual gifts that I've been given from doing that. And I love having crystals, and I love smudging my house, and I say dirty words once in a while, and that's who I am.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's like, it's, even though all of this information that we're already sharing, it's already out there,
Yeah.
but it comes from your own essence. Everybody brings his own light. And that's all it is. You just bring your own essence, because as everybody taps into their own inner light and allow to shine it, together we create this beautiful sun. So we can
Yeah.
all be a ray of sunshine. But no but, and the I am that I am is such a beautiful thing, because as you were saying, I am a Beachbody coach, and I am a mindset coach, and you can be all of these, and you can be a Reiki practitioner, you can love your crystal, all of these, it's all part of who you are, and you can be all of it. It's whatever it is that you focus on, that's what will create in the physical world.
Yes.
So that's what it is. Just tap into the person that you want to become, and that let it shine through, because whatever it is that's resonating with you, the world needs that from you. It needs your own essence.
So good. Thank you so much, Jacinthe. I, again, am humbled and appreciative and in awe of you always and our connection. And I'm so grateful that you could be on today and be my guest. And I really enjoyed today. And I want nothing more than to see you excel at life and follow that soul and listen to that inner guidance system always. And I am so lucky to partner with you and join arms with you to be that. Speaking of which, Jacinthe and I are doing a retreat with another friend, Corinne, September the 30th. So if those listening are interested for more details on the retreat, message myself or Jacinthe, and we will definitely hook you up with the information you need to make a decision on whether you'd like to come be in a juicy space with us. Yoga, some Reiki, lots of chatting about mindfulness, special guest, native elder guest, that's really going to set the foundation and the tone for the day. Lots of yummy, delicious food. I'm excited and honored to do this with you. I'm so pumped.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this podcast and to link arms and to do more work together. I'm really looking forward to it. And as well, I want just the most beautiful life for you as well there, Melissa. You have so much beautiful things to share that's in your heart. And I'm very humbly grateful that you allowing me to share this space with you and with your audience. And for anybody that's interested into following me, you can follow me onto Instagram, Love Essential Life, and also on Facebook, it's Love Essential Life on my business page there. And yeah, like it's just keep shining your light, everyone. It's needed.
Thanks, Jacinthe.
Thank you.